How's it going, everybody? We have got a new poll from the Old School RuneScape team, so let's go ahead and vote in this poll. So this is Old School Content Poll 44, PvP and player-owned houses. Last week they published a developer blog discussing a lot of potential updates for the wilderness, player versus player combat and player-owned houses. I created a developer blog video for that, and I will provide a link to that at the end of this video. Let's start off with question 1. Currently, dying with untradeable equipment in the wilderness results in the equipment being dropped to the ground. If you return to where you died, you can simply pick it back up. This means there's no risk associated with using very powerful untradeable equipment in the wilderness. Should untradeable items dropped on death in the wilderness be broken and require a fee to be paid for repair. 75% of this fee will be awarded to the player who kills someone using the untradeable equipment, with the remaining 25% being removed from the game. I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. I think this is a very good solution to the problem we've got with untradeable items. There's a slight issue that technically it's creating gold, but if people do repair their armor, then it is actually a gold sink. Next, question 2. Should there be a 1 in 25,000 chance of receiving the Golden Glory when charging Amulets of Glory at the Fountain of Rune? The Golden Glory is a tradable Amulet of Glory with unlimited charges. Now, I'm a little bit split on this. I'm a little bit concerned about the power that an unlimited charged glory has. However, it will be considerably rare, and for that reason it will have a very high price tag, and I'm sure that due to this rarity, the actual normal Amulet of Glory won't actually have that much of a hit on its price. In fact, it might increase because people will be buying them and then going to charge them in the chance that they get an Amulet of Glory that's golden. So I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Next, question 3. Should Elder Chaos Druids have a slim chance of dropping their robes, requiring nothing but level 40 magic to equip? These robes will provide the new best in slot magic attack bonus for players with 1 defense. Now, obviously they have to tell us this because this is something players want to know. However, I'm a little bit concerned that people are going to see the fact that it's 1 defense and get scared. Personally, I would be usually quite scared of that. However, seeing that they will be between Ghostly and Xeric equipment, and they've got a level 40 magic requirement to equip, I think these will be fair enough. So I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Next, question 4. Should a skip target button be added to the Bounty Hunter interface? It's already possible to skip your target by logging out, and this button will make the process simpler. The same restrictions on skipping targets would still apply. I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. You can already do it, so we might as well just have a button that will make it a lot easier. Question 5. The Bounty Hunter interface displays a colourful skull to let you know how much wealth your target is holding. This value is currently based on the high alchemy value. Should it be changed to use the grand exchange values instead? I'm going to go ahead and vote yes, because that's a lot more representative of the value a player has. I suppose the only people that will really affect is Iron Men, and potentially, probably with engine work, the Old School RuneScape team could implement it so that Iron Men see a slightly different skull to regular players. Next, question 6. Should items dropped within the wilderness immediately appear to all players? This will prevent players from dropping items to avoid losing them on death. This is something I'm not really a fan of. It's really trying to enforce some laws which I feel that Old School RuneScape and RuneScape as a whole shouldn't be enforcing. So I'm going to go ahead and vote no. However, I've got a strong feeling when we check the results of this and the preceding question will pass. Question 7. Should food and potions dropped within the wilderness never appear to other players? This will prevent teams of players dropping each other's supplies in single-way combat areas. Now, I was hoping they were going to put a proviso on this question, saying that question 6 had to pass for this to happen. So if this passes and question 6 doesn't, then that might be kind of interesting. But anyway, again, I'm not too keen on this. I understand players' concerns, but I think this is a legitimate strategy if we do have items appearing immediately to all players. Next, question 8. Should the experience earned from burying lava dragon bones on lava dragon Isle be increased? This will provide players with much greater incentive to visit the area to train. I'm going to go ahead and vote no. It is already hugely generous. I understand that not too many people go there, but I really don't think prayer experience and extra prayer experience is going to be enough of an incentive to get players there. The only people that's really going to benefit is Iron Men, and seeing as they can't really enjoy the whole PvP experience quite the same as regular players, then I don't see this as a very good solution to the fact that not many people are going into the deep wilderness and to the Lava Dragon Isle. Next, question 9. Should the items you keep on death be chosen based on the grand exchange value rather than the high alchemy value? I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. It's really a great idea because the grand exchange is the marketplace, and that is where the value of items comes from, not high alchemy. Admittedly, high alchemy has a small push in the value of an item because if an item is really unwanted, it usually ends up balancing around its high alchemy value. Next, question 10. Should a menu be added to player-owned houses which allows rooms to be rearranged without needing to recreate them from scratch? This menu will be usable with all rooms except for those with stairs or dungeon entrances. And this menu will be available to all players who own a house. Now I'm a little bit torn with this question. First of all, it will be very useful and everyone will love it. However, it will completely change the way that people look at construction. And I'm kicking myself so much over this, but I think the use of this feature will outweigh the changes to construction. So I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Admittedly, I would love for them to implement this with a small gold fee. However, they've not mentioned anything about that, and it's kind of a shame that they haven't thought about it. Next, question 11. Should the achievement gallery, as described in the PvP and POH rooms developer blog, be added to old school RuneScape? If the achievement gallery passes, the maximum number of rooms in a player-owned house will be increased by 1. Now, I like this achievement gallery idea. I feel it's a little bit powerful being able to change your spellbook in a room in your player-owned house, and similarly, I think the jewelry box is rather powerful, especially because at high levels you'll be able to pretty much teleport anywhere a piece of jewelry can offer. However, the more I think about it, I think this will just be a good update anyway, and these small things I'm worried about aren't actually that bad, so I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Next, question 12. Should the superior garden, as described in the PvP and POH rooms developer blog, be added to old school RuneScape? If the superior garden passes, the maximum number of rooms in the player-owned house will be increased by 1. Again, like the achievement gallery, I quite like the idea of having a superior garden. I have a slight concern about having a fairy ring tree in your garden. However, since I did my video on the developer blog, they've increased the requirement to 95 construction and 83 farming, which I think is fairly reasonable. As well as that, they've changed the revitalization pool since I did my video. Now, there's 5 different types of revitalization pools. At level 65, there's a pool of restoration which will restore your special attack. At level 70, there's a pool of revitalization which will restore your special attack and run energy. At level 80 construction, there'll be a pool of rejuvenation which restores special attack, run energy and prayer. At level 85 construction, there's a fancy pool of rejuvenation which restores special attack, run energy, prayer and all your stats. And at level 90 construction, there'll be an ornate pool of rejuvenation which will restore your special attack, run energy, prayer, all stats and your hit points. Which I think is a much better way of going about it. However, the one thing I'm a little bit sad to see go was the fact that the original pools were going to cure poison and venom. I kind of like the idea of the low level pools being able to cure poison and the higher level pools being able to cure venom. Either way, I think that the superior garden has improved and I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Next, question 13. Should the tip jar, an ornament in which visitors in your player-owned house can leave you coins as tips, be added as a hotspot in the garden room? This item would require level 40 construction to build. Now, I'm not really a huge fan of this. However, I don't have any major objections against it, so I'm going to just skip this question. Question 14. Should they add an incinerator to the bank screen so you can drag unwanted stacks of items to it to destroy them? A warning message will be given before destroying the items. I'm going to go ahead and vote no. This does not feel like anything either RuneScape, RuneScape Classic or Old School RuneScape would have. I don't even think a private server would have this sort of thing. I mean, obviously they do, but it just doesn't feel like RuneScape. If you want to get rid of an item, you should drop it, you should sell it to a shop, or you could hire out it. You could do so many things. Why do we have to have a weird little button in the bank screen to do this? I think it's completely pathetic, and I'm really not a fan of this. Next, question 15. When casting high alchemy value on items, a warning is shown if the item is considered high value. Should they make it possible for us to choose how valuable an item is before the warning is triggered? I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. I think that'd be quite nice. I've heard of a few people accidentally alching important items that they want to keep, and that's simply for the fact that those items were considered to be less than 30k from the high alch value. Next, question 16. Should zombies in Harmony Island be made unaggressive following the completion of the Great Brain robbery? I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. I think that'll be a nice little quest perk. If you want to kill them, then fair enough, and it will just make the island nicer to use after completion of the quest. Question 17. Should shops which sell compost also sell packs of 100 compost? I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. That'll be a nice little quality of life update for people doing farming. Question 18. Should the Abyssal Dagger be added to the drop table of Abyssal Demons with a drop rate of 1 in 32,000, similar to the Smouldering Stone on Hellhounds? I'm going to go ahead and vote yes to this. I'm quite a fan of having these smaller monsters having really rare drops of the awesome things that the higher up bosses have. Although, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't want this on every single monster. Question 19. Should it be possible to choose your reward from the temple trekking minigame? Now, this is something I feel isn't particularly old school. However, I think it will revitalise the minigame a little bit. So, in the hope that the minigame will get a bit of revitalisation from this, I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. I don't think it's going to change the scene of the game too much. Similarly, question 20. Should the drop rate of lumberjack equipment be changed so you have the same likelihood of receiving each piece? I think every single player with the lumberjack outfit is going to be, number one, pissed off at this, and number two, really happy that they're polling this. They know that when they come back to get their lumberjack outfit, it won't be such a pain in the arse to get it. And everyone else playing it will also know it's not a pain in the arse to get. I'm sure it will still require a lot of effort, like all the other equipment similar to the lumberjack, but it won't be as much. So for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Next, question 21. Should an altar where god eggs can be offered be added to the woodcutting guild? The rewards for offering god eggs would be nests and small amounts of prayer experience. Now, this is an interesting idea for god eggs. Ideas have been floating around for a while, and I guess this kind of makes sense. It's woodcutting related because nests you generally get from woodcutting. Obviously, you can get them from things like miscellanea, but woodcutting is a big one. And the prayer experience obviously comes from the fact that they're from gods. However, I'm not really a fan of this. People are obviously desperate for these eggs to have a use, but I just don't think they should. They should just be something that people can collect. So for those reasons, I'm going to go ahead and vote no. I am fully expecting this question to pass. However, I'd prefer it didn't, and we could come up with a better use for the eggs. Personally, I'd be up for having the pets you can see in RuneScape 3. Admittedly, that means only one egg is useful to you, so potentially we could have a slightly better idea. But this isn't something I'm keen on. Question 22. Should a mini-quest section be added to the quest interface? This would allow you to view your progress on various mini-quests, as you can with quests. I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. That'll be really nice to see. You'll be able to see exactly all the mini-quests, because it's always been a little bit unsure in RuneScape. And obviously you'll be able to see your progress in them, which will be wonderful. In fact, recently I saw a Reddit post saying that to have the trim quest cape is really strange because you need the achievement diary cape. And they're kind of unrelated. They were suggesting that once you completed all the mini quests, then you could trim your quest cape, which I think makes a lot more sense than having the achievement diary cape there. Question 23. Should the anti-dragon shield require the Dragon Slayer quest to have been started in order to be equipped? I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. I believe that this should hopefully stem the flow of bosses in the game, because most people that do actually use anti-dragon shields have, or at least have started Dragon Slayer. Next, question 24. Should bind and freeze effects be removed from you when you die in Castle Wars? I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. To be honest, I was unaware of this, and I would imagine that this is a bug and not designed from the game. I suppose the one situation where this would be useful would be that if you kill a player near their spawn with a freeze effect, and then they go straight into their spawn, you've got a little bit of time before they come chasing after you. But I think that's such a minor situation you see in Castle Wars that it's just worth removing it. Question 25. Should it be possible to imbue the Ring of Suffering in Nightmare Zone? The imbued version of the ring would have doubled stats. This seems fair enough. We've got a few other rings that you can imbue in Nightmare Zone to get doubled stats, and the Ring of Suffering is a good candidate for that. For that reason, I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Next, question 26. If the imbued Ring of Suffering passes the poll, should it also provide an infinite recoil effect? This recoil effect will be the same as the one provided by the Ring of Recoil. I'm actually going to go ahead and vote no to that. I'm really not keen with this. Mainly for the reason that I know a lot of people, especially in PvP situations and lower levels, do use the Ring of Recoil, and I wouldn't want to devalue that in any sort of way. Next, question 27. Should the amount of nightshades given per farming patch be increased? Now I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Mostly for the reason that I can't really see any downsides to this. It's not used in game too often, and I think people using it would appreciate this. Question 28. Should more Jogers be added to the Pothole dungeon? They will be added away from the Rogue Purse spawns. I didn't realise that many people were actually killing Jogers, and this seems fair enough, so I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Question 29. Should the Dragon Defender be visually updated to remove its pink glow? Here we can see the current Dragon Defender on the left. It's got a pink glow, which I suppose is okay, but it's not particularly pleasant. And on the right, we've got a Dragon Defender that they're proposing, which actually looks like other dragon items in game. Personally, I prefer the one on the right, and I think it'll be a much better fit in game. So for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. Unfortunately, I am expecting this to fail because it failed another poll not too long ago. It got about 70%. And I think the time waited between that and this poll is not being long enough. And I think they really haven't explained the reason why they're polling this. They've sort of just said we're doing this, and people are confused. Next, question 30. The Gilded Boots currently have a brown ring going around the edge of them. Should this brown ring be made gold to match the rest of the design? Here we can see that we've got the Gilded Boots in this Gilded set, and it looks a bit strange with the brown at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and vote yes, because I think having a golden colour would be much better. Finally, question 31. Should the wild dogs found in the Brimhaven dungeon be made unaggressive? This will make the dungeon more useful for low level players. I'm not a fan of this. That dungeon is dangerous because of that. Admittedly, newer dungeons have made this obsolete. However, this is a key part of the Brimhaven dungeon, and if they removed it, it would be so strange without. So I'm going to go ahead and vote no. Although, once again, this is something I'm expecting to pass. I'm going to go ahead and submit my votes, and then we can check out the results so far. So at the time of voting, we're about a day into this poll, and we've had 28,545 votes, which is incredible. 81.9% want untradeable items dropped on death in the wilderness to be broken, requiring a fee to be paid to get them repaired. 80.2% want the Golden Glory to be added to the game. 87.2% want the Elder Chaos Druid robes to be added to the game. 91.4% want a skip target button to be added to the Bounty Hunter interface. 93.5% want the Bounty Hunter coloured skulls to use the Grand Exchange value instead of High Alchemy values. 57.3% of players want items dropped within the wilderness to appear immediately to all players. And 57.5% want food and potions dropped within the wilderness to never appear to other players. 90.7% want the experience gained from burying Lava Dragon bones to be increased whilst on Lava Dragon Isle. 89.4% want items kept on death to be chosen based on the Grand Exchange value rather than the High Alchemy value. 97.5%, which is probably one of the highest votes we've got so far, want a menu to be added to the player-owned houses which allow you to rearrange rooms without needing to recreate them from scratch. 93.2% want an achievement gallery to be added to the construction skill in old school RuneScape. 90.5% want the superior garden to be added to the construction skill in old school RuneScape. 93.6% want a tip jar to be added to the garden hotspot in old school RuneScape. 80.7% want an incinerator to be added to the bank screen so you can get rid of unwanted stacks of items. 87.7% want to be able to control the value of high value items in the High Alchemy warning message. 89.1% want the zombies in Harmony Island to be made unaggressive following the completion of the Great Brain robbery. 88.2% want compost selling shops to be able to sell packs of 100 compost. 83.8% want the Abyssal Dagger to be added to the drop table of Abyssal Demons with a rare drop rate of 1 in 32,000. 84.4% want it to be possible to choose your own reward from the temple tracking minigame. 91.5% want the drop rate of lumberjack equipment to be changed so you have the same likelihood of receiving each piece. 90.8% want an altar where god eggs can be offered at the Woolcutting Guild, which will give you another nest and a little bit of prayer experience. 93.5% want a mini quest section to be added to the quest interface. 74.7% want the anti-dragon shield to require the Dragon Slayer quest to have been started in order to be equipped. 93.5% want the freeze and bind effects to be removed when you die in Castle Wars. 84.3% want it to be possible to imbue the Ring of Suffering in Nightmare Zone, doubling its stats. But only 68.6% want the imbued Ring of Suffering to have an infinite Ring of Recoil effect. 87.2% want the amount of nightshades from farming patches to be increased. 84.8% want more Joga spawns to be added to the Pothole dungeon. 68.6% want the Dragon Defender to be visually updated to remove its horrible pink glow. 90.5% want the Gilded Boots to have a golden ring around instead of a brown ring around them. And 78.6% want the wild dogs found in the Brimhaven dungeon to be made unaggressive. So this has been a huge and really interesting content poll. I kind of called the Dragon Defender question. Currently it's slightly lower percentage than the original question. However, it's still pretty close, and I hope that in the future they can address it again. But they obviously need an appropriate amount of time and not a few polls like they have done now. Along with that, I've seen plenty of other interesting questions. For example, we're going to get the Ring of Suffering Eye, but we're not going to have the Ring of Recoil effect on it, which is quite nice that the fact that they split up those two questions. It's interesting to note the anti-Dragonfire shield requiring the Dragon Slayer quest to have been started in order to equip is incredibly close to passing. It's 0.3% off. I'm sure that if this doesn't pass, it will get repolled in the future, especially because many players see this as an anti-bot measure. Potentially botters are just sending in accounts to make it fail just that little bit, but I highly doubt they have that much of an influence. I think the new mini quest interface will be great, as well as things like the temple trekking minigame being able to choose your own things will be really interesting. I'm a little bit disappointed when it comes to the incinerator. I really don't see why anyone would want that. But 80.7% of the people who voted do want that, so I can't really argue with that. As well as this, it's really interesting to see that the Superior Garden has 3% less votes than the Achievement Gallery, which personally I preferred the Superior Garden over the Achievement Gallery, but it's probably the fact that the Achievement Gallery has a lot more useful things in it that people are voting for it. And like when I said when I came to it, I think question 10 is one of the most popular questions we've had so far. 97.5% of all the votes is incredible. We've got less than 1,000 people voting no to it. It's great to see that a lot of these PvP questions are passing, although it's quite interesting to see that question 6 and question 7 about dropping items in the wilderness and food and potions aren't passing. I think all in all, this poll has been quite successful. There's been a high number of votes in it, and so many things that are good are passing. Obviously there's a few things I've disagreed with, but 75% or more players are agreeing with it, and I can't argue with that. If you've not voted in this poll yet, please make sure you go ahead and vote. This game is a community game. Every update comes in is voted on by the community, and we are the community, so we've got to vote on the updates we want. If we don't do that, we don't get the game we want, and that would be such a shame. If you're interested in the Deadman Mode Invitational and a second Deadman Mode season, please click here for my news post video with the Deadman Mode Invitational 2 being now open. And if you want to watch the developer blog for this poll, please click here for PvP and POH rooms. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and share, and if you want to keep up to date with the old school RuneScape updates, death box and polls, please subscribe. I've been Lewis, thanks for watching, goodbye.